So we have a high probability of a parabolic move about to take place for Tesla stock, and in this video I want to go ahead and share why I'm a bit bullish of Tesla stock and where we currently are. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Justin. I'm the founder of Push Your Profit Research. We've been featured on Yahoo Finance, MarketWatch, Bazinga, Fox Business, and a few other news publications as well. And in this video I want to just share some of the bullish catalysts that we have for Tesla stock, and I want to start off with the element of surprise. See, something that's pretty interesting right now is that Wall Street has this estimate on September 30th, right? That's actually my birthday, that we're gonna have 433,000 deliveries for Tesla vehicles for the Q3 numbers, right, of 2025. Now, this is significantly lower than what we saw from last year, Q3 of 2024. Now, I get it, right? Q1, Q2, we didn't have a good time for Tesla, right? Many will say, well, it was due to the deterioration of the brand because of Elon Musk's affiliation with the political world, and where he kind of sits on the political spectrum, and a couple of other things from a macro perspective as well, high interest rates. But I want to go ahead and touch on why I honestly believe this number is a bit low, and we may have a shock of seeing Tesla deliver very likely 460,000 vehicles. Now, that'd still be less than what we saw in Q3, but that surprise itself may be the move to push Tesla closer to new all-time highs. And I want to go ahead and touch on why I think the analysts on Wall Street might be wrong. Now, most of the time, let's be honest, right? The analysts on Wall Street have gotten the estimates for Tesla wrong several times in the past, and I think this time will be no different, right? And one thing that I think we're kind of wanting to pay attention to that the analysts may be kind of overlooking is the one big beautiful bill, right? Now, this was the bill that was introduced where it was going to end the $7,500 tax credit for new EVs for any EV purchase after September 30th. So any time between now to September 30th, you'll still have that tax credit. And so I think there's a lot of individuals who are looking to buy a Tesla and they want to take advantage of the tax credit before it's just gone, but also they wanted to wait for a better rate environment. And we recently just had the Federal Reserve cut rates, and that was partly one of the reasons why we had this mega move for Tesla take place, right? And I think there's still one more mega move before we reevaluate and adjust our positions. And so for Tesla, one thing that we want to talk about is, of course, the federal funds rate, right? We saw the Fed slash rates by 25 basis points, and of course, what we're seeing is that it's not a significant drop in what the interest rate is for auto loans, right? It's not like, hey, the Fed slashed 25 basis points, cars are basically free. No, right? The interest rate is still high, and it's, as you can see, significantly higher than it has been in the past historically, right? I financed my vehicle back in 2016, and I believe the interest rate was around 4%. We're almost double that, right? Even after this rate cut. And so I think there's a lot of individuals who are on the sideline who are waiting for, this dual combination of still wanting to take advantage of the EV tax credit, but wanting to get a better rate. And, now is the time. And so with all this pent up demand, right, it could actually exceed what the estimates from Wall Street are. And we could see a number that's higher than 433,000. And that could definitely be a huge catalyst for Tesla. Now, I want to share this chart over here with Intel, and I want to share this because I think it's going to answer the question for a lot of people on why, I switched to where I have, periods where I'm very bullish on Tesla and then periods where, I'm bearish, right? For example, when Tesla was over here at these prices back in December, I made several videos and a ton of content saying, look, this is kind of where you want to sell, and we're likely to see Tesla stock continue going downwards. Now, did I have a crystal ball? Absolutely not. But the fundamentals didn't justify where we currently were or where we previously were back in December. And so, one thing I want to show with this chart over here, this is a chart of Intel, right? And it's a 25-year chart. And you can see that Intel, 25 years later from if you would have just put money in the beginning, is exactly at where it started at 25 years ago. And so what I want to share is that you want to be proactive and you want to rebalance your portfolio when the thesis changes, right? You don't want to be the guy who at one point held it here but didn't sell or rebalance or trim, and now you're back here, back where it was 25 years ago, right? You want to be proactive, right? Again, you should always do whatever you see value in, and you should never trade based on what anyone says. And so maybe you're someone like, hey, I want to not sell, but I want to buy the dip. Sure, right? But just take off profit and trim and rebalance when the time is right, and just really monitor your portfolio, right? You don't want to just have something sitting around not doing anything, right? And so that's just something I wanted to share. Now, Tesla, from a technical perspective, we see that we're in this area where there's little volume relative to price. When we look at the volume profile, meaning that if there's buying pressure, we could see that push up the order book significantly. And so with a fundamental update of delivery numbers higher than what Wall Street is estimating, well, that's the perfect recipe, especially when there's little volume relative to price, to have the order books jump up pretty quickly. We also know that we're above the moving averages, right? The 50-period moving average, the 200-period moving average, so there's momentum. And then the directional move index is still showing strength. Now, it's curling downwards, but it still has a lot of strength, right? So that's kind of like the bullish setup from a technical perspective, that if you combined it with a fundamental perspective, it could be really strong. Now, I do currently have a position on Tesla. I may start trimming as we get to fourth quarter, right? The last end of the year. But I want to share something, right? So for those that are insiders within Push and Profit Research, I shared how I'm still bullish on a few names. JP Morgan was one of them. It actually hit new all-time highs for today, right? As we have the federal funds rate getting slashed, it's actually pretty good for banks, because a lot of banks, right, they kind of reduce the risk of defaults when, lending rates get slashed lower, right? Because you have to understand not only the upside, but also the risk. And so if you want to get updates to what names I'm looking at, what trade ideas, or just my daily market updates where I talk about what's going on in the market, make sure to check out the links in the description below, because one of the links is going to be for a massive sale to join the Push and Profit Research Insider Group for just $8.99 a month for the first 4 months. You could cancel at any time, and we're doing this massive sale at this very low price, because I'm very positive that many of you, if you were to join, you would see a lot of value in what we share. So that's why I'm confident in doing this very short-term sale for $8.99. So definitely check out the links in the description below. But lastly, I want to go to this other catalyst over here, right? So this is another trick that we may end up seeing coming from Elon, right? So we have Sawyer Merritt, who posts very often on X, on Tesla, and really just EVs in general. And he posted this, headline, right, or this photo of the annual shareholder meeting, which is in 2025, and this is coming soon, by the way. Elon said this will be special. Now, of course, we know that there is a ton of different times historically where Elon Musk is very hype-ish and bullish, and he tries to promote the Tesla events as much as he can, and then they end up kind of being flops where the information isn't that great. But oftentimes we use these events as buy the rumor, sell the news events. And so when you combine, we have a couple of things. Think about it as like a big pot, and you're just adding all these spices, right? We have a really good recipe here, right? From a technical standpoint, Tesla looks good. From a fundamental standpoint, we are very likely to have that element of surprise. And then we also have the hype and the momentum that we may have from Elon Musk, who historically has always hyped up the events, and then eventually they end up being kind of sell the rumor events. And so what I'm going to be doing for Tesla is, of course, I still have my positions for Tesla. I'm going to have a trailing stop loss, but I think we're likely to have a push up, and I don't think we're going to hit new all-time highs by the end of 2024. I mean, you never know with Tesla, but I think we could possibly get close to this area right around over here, which was kind of like a previous resistance back in you see here in back in January, right, which was around $465. And so we still have a little bit of room, I think, that we can see Tesla go up to before we end up kind of seeing things drop. And so that's likely where I'll go ahead and rebalance, right? Maybe take the profits off Tesla and rotate it to something else. It may not be JP Morgan right now. it's JP Morgan, but later on I may rebalance into other pockets of the market, right? So again, if you want to have access to the daily briefing, check out the links in the description down below. But before you guys go, make sure to check out this video right over here, and I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.